Before the first cannonball tore through the Carolina sky at Fort Sumter, marking the bloody dawn of the Civil War, one man was already fighting his own desperate battle. It was a fight not against armies, but against the very nature of wealth, a global conspiracy of silence and the paralyzing fear that the fortune he'd just amassed might be a curse, bought with the stolen secrets of a forgotten American industrial prophet. Part 1. The Ghost of the Gilded Age. Chapter 1. The Curse of the Comstock Lode. The air in the private drawing room of the Fifth Avenue mansion was thick with the scent of Cuban tobacco and cold, hard panic. It was a frigid evening in December 1860, and outside, New York City was bustling, oblivious to the political fever gripping the South. Inside, 29-year-old Elias Thornton paced the Persian rug, his face slick with sweat despite the roaring fire. Elias was, by any reasonable measure, the quintessential self-made American millionaire. He had arrived in San Francisco a decade prior with nothing but a geological textbook and an unshakable conviction. Now, thanks to the sheer, unbelievable yield of his primary stake in Nevada's Comstock Lode, the single richest silver strike in world history, he was worth more than the entire U.S. Treasury's gold reserves. He was an American titan before the age of 30. But the wealth had brought a terrifying, inexplicable phenomenon. "It's not just a pattern, Mr. Astor. It's a perfect cycle," Elias whispered, leaning in to address William Backhouse Astor Sr., patriarch of the Astor dynasty, who sat impassively nursing a brandy. Astor, a man accustomed to the eccentricities of the ultra-rich, raised a skeptical eyebrow. "Elias, my boy, mining is a gamble. Your profits fluctuate. The market responds to news of new veins." "No, listen. Every Monday for the last 6 months, without fail, a single anonymous cable is delivered to my office in San Francisco. It contains one number. That number, Mr. Astor, is the exact, precise aggregate drop in value of my entire portfolio, calculated to the penny, that will occur by the close of business Friday." He produced a folded, crisp sheet of paper from his waistcoat, a Western Union receipt. Last week's cable, $47,192.11. The Friday closing tally, $47,192.11. The market shifts aren't natural, they are orchestrated. Someone or something is calculating my destruction, one predictable week at a time. Astor leaned forward, his interest finally piqued. "Who knows you hold this pattern? Your bookkeepers? Your brokers?" "None. I do the final tally myself. But the source of the knowledge, that's the true horror. They aren't just predicting my value drop, they're using the specific language and technical calculations from a notebook I possess, a notebook written by a man who died penniless 50 years ago. The notebook belonged to Samuel Sam Bixby, a forgotten genius of the early 19th century. Bixby was an amateur inventor, a self-taught engineer from Boston, who, as Elias had discovered during a meticulous review of an estate auction, had been obsessed with a radical, almost mystical concept he called the American engine. It wasn't a steam engine or a combustion engine. It was a theoretical system for calculating and stabilizing the wealth generated by a purely industrial, non-agrarian society, a financial model designed to be anti-feudal, intrinsically democratic, and terrifyingly accurate. Bixby's notebook, which Elias had accidentally used to calculate the initial yield of the Comstock Lode, contained two things: a flawless mathematical model for predicting mineral resource depletion and market response, and a detailed encrypted diagram of a revolutionary, high-precision harmonic gear assembly designed to power a nascent industrial America.
a design that, if manufactured, would halve the cost of textile production and instantly revolutionize the northern economy. Elias realized that his unseen tormentor wasn't just wealthy, they were a custodian of Bixby's economic model, and they were using it as a weapon. They weren't stealing his money, they were meticulously, mathematically proving his fortune was illegitimate by the very metrics of the man whose theories had allowed him to find it. "I need to find the engine," Elias declared, his voice firming with a new resolve. "I need the physical engine, the prototype." Bixby wrote that his financial model is only useless if the engine, his anti-poverty machine, is allowed to operate. The anonymous sender is threatening my fortune because they know that engine exists somewhere, hidden away, and they want to keep it silent. Astor took a long sip of brandy. "If Bixby's engine is real, Elias, then someone must have suppressed it, someone with the power to bury an idea that could change the global balance of trade, a cartel. And if you are now the inheritor of his secrets, you have become their next target." As the political crisis of secession loomed, Elias Thornton's personal crisis began. To save his wealth, he had to find the engine, a forgotten technological marvel that held the key not just to his fortune, but to the very trajectory of American industrial destiny. His journey would take him from the shadowy docks of New Orleans, where Bixby's last known shipment vanished, to the very halls of the nascent Confederate government, where the prospect of an unbridled industrial North, powered by Bixby's secret, was seen as a geopolitical death sentence. The man who had cracked the load now had to crack a century-old conspiracy, and the clock was ticking to a national implosion. Chapter 2. The Cartel and the Clockwork of Conflict. The year 1861 dawned with the Union crumbling. Elias, armed only with Bixby's technical notes and the cryptic message that the engine was hidden in a location designated as the apex of the tri-point, sold a staggering portion of his silver stock, an action the New York papers dismissed as a premature liquidity move, and prepared for a journey south. His true motive, to find the machine before the inevitable war made it impossible, or worse, before the cartel, whom he now suspected had deep roots in the Southern power structure, seized it. His investigations led him to a retired shipbuilder in Baltimore named Jonas Kincaid, a former associate of Bixby. Kincaid was initially terrified and refused to speak, but when Elias showed him the intricate, almost alien diagrams of the harmonic gear assembly, the old man's resolve shattered. "The apex of the tri-point," Kincaid rasped, his eyes wide. "It's a safe room, not an engine, the safe room for the engine. Bixby built it in the foundation of the first large industrial factory he helped finance in the South. He believed the North and South were destined to fight, and he wanted his engine, his blueprint for a peaceful, stable industrial democracy, to be secured in the region that would benefit most from its introduction, the emerging manufacturing base of the Upper South. This information changed everything. The engine wasn't just a suppressed invention, it was a physical, palpable asset located within the most strategically important industrial complex of the nascent Confederacy. And Elias had just learned that the anonymous cables he was receiving were not coming from a New York rival, but were being routed through the only telegraph office in the country capable of such complex, high-speed routing, the only one attached to the Charleston to Richmond line. The cartel was operating in the very heart of the secession movement. Elias realized the true significance of the cartel's agenda. They weren't just protecting their personal wealth, they were actively trying to prevent the industrialization of the South via Bixby's technology. Why? Because a financially stable, industrially independent South would have no need for reliance on a single agrarian crop, and its institutions, including its reliance on slavery, would slowly be undermined by the higher wage specialized labor demand of industry. The cartel was a cabal of powerful, interlinked southern plantation owners and northern financiers whose profits depended on the stability of the cotton economy and the established labor hierarchy it enforced. The first shots at Fort Sumter were fired on April 12, 1861. Elias Thornton found himself trapped in Baltimore, the gateway to the conflict, now forced to play a desperate, dangerous game, infiltrate the Confederate capital of Richmond to retrieve a machine that might, hypothetically, end the Civil War before it truly began, or at least shift the North's industrial power into an unstoppable gear. He had to become a spy, a smuggler, and a thief, all to save a fortune he no longer cared about, but which represented the pure, unadulterated potential of American ingenuity that the cartel was determined to extinguish.
His journey was no longer about silver, but about the ghost of a forgotten man whose ideas had been suppressed for half a century, an unseen hand that had quietly shaped the coming conflict. Chapter 3: Crossing the Mason-Dixon and the Network of Shadows. The atmosphere in Baltimore was tense, a city split between northern loyalties and southern sympathies. Elias knew he couldn't travel as a high-profile silver magnate. He adopted the persona of Silas Thorne, a freelance arms dealer from Liverpool, claiming to be seeking lucrative contracts with the Confederacy. His disguise was aided by an old colleague, a former engineer who had become a master forger. The contact. Elias uses Bixby's cryptic financial network to locate his first handler, Lavinia Hale, a seemingly meek seamstress in Alexandria, Virginia. Hale runs a vast hidden intelligence network, precursor to elements later adopted by the Union's intelligence operations, that opposes the cartel's influence in Richmond. She confirms Elias's fears. The cartel's leaders are high-ranking officials within the Confederate Treasury and War Departments, actively suppressing modern industrial methods to maintain their cotton-based economic power. The blueprint deciphered. Lavinia provides Elias with Bixby's final key, a technical decryption cipher disguised as a tailoring pattern. The key reveals that the apex of the tri-point isn't just a physical location, but also requires a precise temporal alignment tied to the moon cycles and the magnetic north, a detail crucial for opening the safe room without destroying the engine. Chapter 4: Infiltration and the Master Engineer. Elias, using his forged credentials, gains entry to Richmond and astonishingly secures an audience at the Richmond Iron Works itself. He claims he can provide superior high-grade steel for cannon production. The target. The ironworks is a hive of activity run by Colonel Thaddeus Vance, a man utterly obsessed with efficiency but bound by antiquated technology and secretly a cartel member. Vance proudly displays the main turbine room, oblivious that the safe room is directly beneath the floor. The ally. Elias identifies his necessary collaborator, Eliza Kent, the ironworks' brilliant, young, but overlooked master mechanist. Eliza is the only person who truly understands the massive, complex gearing of the main turbine. She harbors a deep frustration with Colonel Vance's rejection of her innovative power-boosting modifications, believing her designs could double the Confederacy's output. Elias realizes Eliza's modifications are almost identical to the principles Bixby outlined for optimization. The trade. Elias covertly approaches Eliza. He doesn't mention Bixby or the cartel, only that he can provide the technical schematics needed to prove her modifications are sound and necessary. In exchange, he needs her to calibrate the main turbine precisely at midnight on the night of the full moon, arguing the alignment will optimize the forge. Eliza, desperate for validation, agrees. Chapter 5: The Discovery of the Engine. On the designated night, as the full moon reaches its zenith, Eliza meticulously adjusts the massive gears, creating the specific harmonic vibration frequency detailed in Bixby's temporal key. The unveiling.
As the vibrations peak, a section of the floor beneath the main turbine begins to descend, revealing a hermetically sealed, copper-lined chamber, the apex safe room. Colonel Vance is nowhere to be seen, having been distracted by a timed and non-lethal sabotage Elias had orchestrated in the distant casting room. The engine revealed. Inside, Elias and Eliza find not a massive factory-sized machine, but a sleek, complex apparatus the size of a large desk. It's a breathtaking marvel of polished steel, clockwork, and crystalline tubes. It is Bixby's American engine, and it is perfectly preserved. The true nature. Elias uses Bixby's notes to power the engine briefly. It does not produce physical power. Instead, the gears whir, the tubes glow, and it begins to output a long, rolled sheet of finely printed calculations. The engine is not a power source, but a relational economic calculator. Its function is to intake data on natural resources, labor output, and industrial capacity, and in return, it prints the precise, non-inflationary value of a new, stable national currency backed by the nation's productive capacity, not gold. It is the blueprint for economic stability that eliminates the need for boom and bust speculation, the very thing the cartel thrives on. The confrontation. Just as Elias retrieves the printout, Colonel Vance and a detachment of soldiers burst in. Vance reveals he was tracking Elias all along and knows about the real purpose of the Silas Thorne alias. Vance confirms his role in the cartel, explaining they feared Bixby's system because it would make the common man too rich to pick cotton for a pittance. He states the engine must be destroyed. Part 3. The Phoenix of the Confederacy. Chapter 6. Escape and the Price of Progress. A fierce struggle ensues. Elias, aided by Eliza, uses his knowledge of the engine's structural integrity to create a diversion. He realizes he cannot remove the massive calculator, but he must retrieve the data. The sacrifice. Eliza, seeing the true potential of Bixby's concept, triggers an irreversible overload sequence on the engine, sacrificing the machine to deny it to Vance and the cartel. The chamber begins to violently destabilize. The relic. Elias grabs two critical items, the long printout of the economic formula, the blueprint for the new currency, and a small hardened steel component, the harmonic regulator, the key technological piece required to build the next iteration of the engine. The journey north. Elias and Eliza escape Richmond moments before the chamber explodes, creating a massive, unexplained power failure at the ironworks. They use Lavinia Hale's network to smuggle themselves back through the contested border, hunted by both Confederate patrols and cartel operatives. Chapter 7. The Final Calculation. Elias returns to New York, exhausted but triumphant. He is financially ruined, as the anonymous cables had perfectly predicted, but he holds the key to fundamentally reforming the American economy. He presents the Bixby formula and the harmonic regulator to Lincoln's Treasury Secretary, Salmon Chase, in Washington, D.C. Elias argues winning the war isn't just about armies, but about providing the Union with a new, fundamentally stable currency system. He explains that Bixby's model allows the Union to back its currency with its massive, untapped industrial potential, not just uncertain gold reserves. Chase is stunned by the genius of the formula. He uses the core concepts of Bixby's design, the backing of paper currency by national productive capacity rather than metallic reserves, to lay the foundation for the National Banking Acts of 1863 and 1864, and indirectly the creation of the system that later leads to the modern Federal Reserve. The first U.S. Greenbacks are, in essence, the first practical output of Bixby's anti-feudal economic engine, providing the Union with the stable financial structure necessary to fund the massive war effort and achieve victory. Conclusion. Elias Thornton never recoups his silver fortune, but he finds his purpose. He and Eliza Kent establish a high-precision engineering firm, using the harmonic regulator to innovate new industrial techniques, fulfilling Bixby's original technological vision. The cartel's original threat is fulfilled. Elias's speculative wealth vanishes, but the nation's true wealth, its true productive capacity, is unleashed, cementing the Union's fate and guaranteeing the industrial dominance of the United States. Elias realizes the anonymous cables were not just a threat, but a challenge, a historical duty to sacrifice his personal wealth for the nation's permanent economic stability.